out.
How did you get your first opportunity to work in art direction and graphic design?
I've done graphic design independently since the early 2000s, and I did a lot of web design initially as a freelancer with a few friends of mine. And going through that world for a long time, I ended up finding an opportunity to transition into advertising because I had a friend who went to art school, he went to portfolio school, and he followed that path. Mm-hmm. And he worked in advertising. He's like, hey, why you never thought about working in the ad world? I'm like, I don't know anything about the ad world. He's like, yeah, you do. You're a graphic designer. You could do it. So he showed me how to make a book. Everyone has to make a book, a portfolio site, with my own like mock ads of what I think ads will look like and this, that, the third, and shopping it around in different places. I ended up getting a freelance gig here and there, and then I landed at a shop that I freelanced at for about a year, and then I got hired full time. That's how I got into advertising. I didn't take the normal path that everybody does where they go to like a portfolio school or advertising school. I ended up sneaking in the back door.
Okay, so you didn't go to school at all before?
No, I went to school. I went to school for graphic design and web design. So that's what I went to school for. But I didn't go to advertising school, which is normally the route most people in the ad world take.
Okay. So you just kind of felt around and got in?
Yeah, I mean, I connected with people. Like that's one of my main things is always trying to like, connect with people just to connect with them. But then somehow or another, I end up finding ways that I'm in sync with things or doors opening through the connections that I've made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your official job title?
So I'm a senior creative at Dreamvilles. I do more than just art direction there, so senior creative was what we landed on, but I'm an art director by trade. So I pretty much handle conceptual to physically doing the work.
So how did you get that opportunity?
Well, I've known J. Cole and his team since the initial inception of the brand Dreamvilles. So I used to have a hip-hop blog that I did in my spare time, and when I had my own web design shop. And through that, I would review albums that I thought were cool, new upcoming artists I would connect with. And a friend of mine sent me this mixtape from this guy that was going to St. John's University that was about to drop his first mixtape. And I listened to it and I was like, wow, this dude is crazy. Reached out to him, was like, look, so-and-so, I have this blog. I'd love to interview you, but I can't really find too much about you. So he hit me right back, and then we became like cool. I did the interview and post on the blog, and then we just became friends. And over that time, I just always worked with him on anything he ever needed, from when he was like coming up, if he needed stuff, and even to him getting signed and doing mixtape artwork for him, different things like that. So all those years, I've always been like, always a member of the Dreamville brand, but just not in the more official status what I am today. Now I'm solely signed to work for Dreamville. Before it was, one foot in, one foot out kind of.
Okay. So I saw that you did ads for Chase Bank. How was that transition from doing the ads for them and then transitioning to doing art direction for J. Cole?
Well, now I'm working for a friend as opposed to working for people who are clients. So working with a friend, it also has a learning curve where you have to learn the discipline of treating your friend also like a client. You should never just take advantage of working for someone that gives you more. They give you more trust, and they give you more freedom. So you should actually treat them better than, I'd even say, a client that's not your friend. You should actually give them more of the respect because they're giving you that space to actually have a little more freedom in that creative space. So that's the difference, I'd say. It's someone closer to you. It's more like a family thing. So that would be the biggest difference.
Did your duties and responsibilities kind of shift?
Well, yeah. Now I have more responsibility now, working every day with Dreamville. I have more day-to-day that I'm more responsible for. Before it was on a project basis. So a lot of times, even though I would do it at times, there were times where at my desk at all my jobs, at my agencies I worked at, and I'd be working on art direction when, sneak something in. But now, when they call me, it's like there's stuff that needs to get done. It's like now I'm more in a capacity where anything they call me for is what I should be doing. It's not like I could be like, yeah, I could do this later as opposed to that. So yeah.
How does tour life affect your family balance, if it does at all?
Well, I wouldn't say it affects it that much differently. I was still pretty bad at family balance because I like my personal space.
Yeah.
So I'd say now I'm learning to be better at family balance. So I force myself now to like make sure I check in on my family, see them more, because sometimes I go away for weeks at a time. So I'm still working on that family balance. I do check in, but like physically checking in is something I'm trying to work on being better at.
So I saw that you went to San Quentin prison to visit with the inmates. What did you take from? Why was it important for you to pay that visit?
Well, I'd have just so I always have this thing about keeping a log on the fire. Like I have like a real interest and passion for just problems that affect majority black people. Mm-hmm. Like that's like something I've always had a feeling for since I was really young. And anytime I have an opportunity to learn more, hear more in that realm, I've always dug in. So while we were on the road this summer, we met this really great group of people from this company called the ARC, which main strategy is prison reform in every different light. This guy named Scott Budnick, he heads the program. Great guy, and he was like a dynamo in Hollywood, killing it, and he left Hollywood to do prison reform. And after talking with him in I think it was the Inglewood show, we talked to him for about an hour. He gave us the opportunity to go to San Quentin and talk to all these brothers that were incarcerated, and just hearing their stories, walking through the prison, and just spending a lot of time with these guys, and just getting to hear their side of the story.
Yeah.
And that's how we got there. And now we're trying to do more work with them now. So they'll be like, I think going forward, we'll be heavily tied with Scott and the ARC with all our initiatives that we're trying to do.
What did you learn from being there?
It's more of a reinforce what I've always known. And like these guys are still humans, whether they made mistakes and are guilty for the things they've done, they're still human beings, And what I'm learning in myself is to actually learn that space of forgiveness. Like, would I be able to forgive someone for a heinous crime as murder, or something like that? It's like at the end of the day, humans are very flawed characters. Mm-hmm. And even sitting in a room, I sat in a room with about 30, 40 guys who admitted like insane crimes that, some of them committed, but they committed when they were really young, or their back was against the wall. For whatever reason, these were mistakes or really bad decisions that they all made. But what I'm learning more and more is that we're all human beings, and we need to kind of figure out how are we going to really rehabilitate as opposed to punish. Because half the time, punishment doesn't do anything, It's really about rehabilitation. Like, where's that conversation, and is it really being taken seriously? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm trying to learn.
Okay. So I know personally, being a creative, sometimes it gets so frustrating when I can't necessarily find the job that's within my qualifications that I went to school for and such. What do you say to someone who wants to be in your field of work? What should they do to keep them kind of balanced and just stay focused?
I mean, you should always be going out there looking for your money.
Yeah.
Like, as a creative, for most industries, if you're in a creative space where you can afford the tools that you need and you already have them, you should be out there trying to seek work. Whether you're just doing work for practice or you're doing, independent contract jobs. The problem is a lot of times is people are afraid to go get some money on their own. They want to work in an institution and get a check that way, which is fine. Like, I've worked at a lot of places where I've been well compensated for my job, but in the times that I wasn't, I was out there trying to get a bag on my own. Yeah. And I think it is disheartening to interview and you're not getting hired. But at the same time, if you're good, if you got skills, even if your skills aren't the best, one thing I've learned is I'm nowhere near the best. I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle, where there's tons of people better than me and there's tons of people that aren't better than me. So that means there's a space for me to make money. So at the end of the day, you can go out there, promote yourself. If you're not the type that you are good at promotion, you don't know how to speak to people, then give someone that has that speaking power a piece of your cut. and give them a percentage to market you. And they don't even have to be like a real PR person. They could be someone that just knows how to talk to people. You know what I'm saying? So you give that person a 15%, 20%, take that until you learn how to do it yourself, and go out there and get your money. You should always be practicing your craft, and you should also be always getting paid for your craft. So even if it's a small thing, I still do small jobs. Like, I'm not in a pompous place where I turn down certain work. If push comes to shove and I ain't getting no bread out here, I will do a party flyer that I select the client. I'm not gonna take every job, but I will do that for the money because I know that that's money. My mom says, she's from Jamaica, she says every mickle make a muckle, whatever the hell that means, but it means every little thing counts. So you should not be afraid to go out there and get your own bread, because that's what you're supposed to be doing anyway. If you want to become an entrepreneur, that's what an entrepreneur does, is go get their own money.
So true. So I saw that when I was researching you, that you had some credit on a video. Was it Pimpin' All Over the World? Did you do some editing?
Oh yeah, so I used to, so this is like a long time ago. I did art direction in music videos. That was one of the early things I used to do, because I had one of my early mentors was this director named Little X, who's now Director X. He doesn't go by Little no more, but that's how I know him from back in the days.
Yeah.
But he's a good friend of mine and family. He had this place that was like a workspace, kind of like a WeWork, right in the middle of Manhattan. And what he did was he provided me a place where I could pay a small rent fee to have my own workspace, and in there I did a lot of freelance graphic design. And in that, I did art direction for that video. So I did like really bad Photoshop now compared to the stuff that I would ever touch today. I don't even really talk about it, but it was like a part of my life.
I saw that video and it was very colorful.
Yeah, that stuff.
I liked it.
That stuff, looking back, no. I liked it for the time because it was a great opportunity, but like, and it was meant to be cheesy and like, it wasn't meant to be like looking super real. So I appreciate it for what it was, and through that I did that artwork. I even did some stuff for like Benny Boom for like a Biggie video back in the day.
Really?
I did like this background wall for the video. So in a way, I did
check that one out.
I did work for Biggie even though he died. That was kind of cool.
I mean,
that was very cool.
That's an amazing thing to have on your resume, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is your greatest personal achievement at this present moment, like right now?
My greatest personal achievement?
Yes.
In art or in life?
I want to say in life.
In life?
Personal and business. Personal business.
Personal in life is I'm a launched adult. So I think one of my greatest fears I had like before I turned 30 was like finding stability to take care of myself, and being from a Caribbean background, and I was a kid. I wasn't like this great academic kid. I was my parents gave me everything I wanted, so in turn that made me very distracted as a child. So a lot of times opportunities I ended up missing because I was just like a spoiled kid. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to watch movies when I should be studying and stuff like that. But through like my mom would say the grace of God, the doors kept opening. So as much as doors closed, I started recognizing and following through the doors that opened. So one of my fears was to be a struggling person who couldn't take care of themselves, and I'm not that. Yeah. I have pretty much no debt. I have a great career, and I can take care of myself. And I think that's one of the main things my parents worried about me, as if I'd be able to they look at me and they don't worry about me. And I think that's my greatest achievement, because I know they're happy that I'm, able to survive in this world. Like, that's such a hard thing to do, especially in this economic state, like to function and not be struggling and being good. Like that's probably my greatest life achievement, and I'm happy with where I am. So I think that's my greatest. Creatively, my number one thing I ever wanted to do was an album cover. I'm a hip hop head, so my favorite thing I ever wanted to do was an album cover, and I did two. So
you did.
Yeah.
For Your Eyes.
Yeah.
And which?
And For Your Eyes only. And even just from a hip hop standpoint for the culture, I also did Friday Night Lights. So I've done 3 pieces of art that I remember when I had my first piece when I did Friday Night Lights, and then I Googled it like right after it happened, and I Googled it, and like you could go to Google Images, and it was like it's like a bunch of them.
Oh, wow.
And it was like all these people like put it up, and I was just like, damn. I knew my boy was out of here, but like for my own personal like selfishness, like my art was like just out there in the world.
So when you see it on social media, what kind of feeling does that give you?
Oh no, well, like I won't say it's gone now, but now it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be there.
Like,
but when it happened, I remember the first night when Forest Hills Drive came out, midnight, me and my boy Tros, we hopped on a train. We went to Best Buy. We went to Best Buy on 14th Street, and we went there to buy the copy. And ever since Cole's first album, I always buy 10 copies and I give them away. So I went there to go pick up my 10, and I picked up the 10, and I was looking on the shelf, and then my boy hit me on the shoulder and was like, yo, you did it, yo. And I was like probably one of the best creative feelings of my life.
Wow.
Seriously.
That's when it really hit you.
Yeah, and like, yeah, that was like a dope feeling for me. Another great feeling was like, me and one of my closest friends, Justin, we traveled around the country and we shot a campaign for Chase for like, I think it was almost 3 months. We went around the United States driving around in a Mercedes Sprinter van doing photography. And I was the art director, my good friend Justin Francis, he was the main photographer, and two of my closest friends were also assistant photographers, my boy Keith and my boy Collis. And then we created that together. And we did it for like 3 months, driving around the country.
Did you get an award for that?
I did get an award for that through the creative network that I was under for that campaign. Yeah, that was a good time, man. That was a great time. So, yeah.
What special advice would you give that you were given to someone else? Something that resonated with you pretty much like...
Oh, my mentor in advertising, he always told me, you know, be great at the work you do, but also be very, very adamant in the relationships you foster. Because the relationships you foster is what will keep you in the business. Because at some point, I'll get to a point where this industry will change very fast, and I won't, unless I'm still learning, I'll become old and there'll be a million new tools in the game. And I should foster these relationships and also be able to put people in place that come after me to be able to foster that. So it's really about the relationships. Anything that I'm where I'm at only because of relationships. Your relationships are the most important part of anything, especially in the creative space. No matter who you meet, like I could think in my mental Rolodex, I'm always trying to connect people based on my relationships. So with that being said, I could also use those same relationships for myself. You could be the greatest creative, you have the best looking work. If you can't talk to people, no one's gonna care. Like I've seen when I worked in advertising and we'd bring in the interns for the summer. I've seen the most pompous interns talk themselves out of a job because they felt that they were so creatively good. Now, not saying that they won't get a job, but that won't keep them there in a long time because people want to like you. At the end of the day, when you go into any creative space to work, it's still a place where people have to deal with other people's personalities. If people don't like your personality, you're not going to stay there unless you're the name on the door. And if you're the name on the door and your personality sucks, people won't want to stay in that room. So at the end of the day, it's all about how you connect with people. That's the biggest thing. And you got to show up once you've fostered that relationship to get in there. Yeah.
Lastly, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means I never have to do, I could do whatever I want. I don't know many people that are really there because the way the world works is you need money. So the thing is, but there's different levels of freedom. You could be free financially, but then spiritually or psychologically, you're miserable and trapped inside yourself. So freedom for me is I'm pretty free everywhere except financially. So if I was free financially, then that means I could just wake up and do whatever I feel like. If
buy a boat.
Yeah, but I don't even need to own the boat. I don't need to be free to the point that I need to own the things. I just need access to the things. So my freedom is just being able to get up and do absolutely what I want. I would probably loaf a lot and learn art and just talk to people every day and go eat. I probably wouldn't do much.
Yeah, I heard tea was your thing. You would go sip tea.
Yeah, I'd probably do that too. You know, I'd probably just be out at a nice table somewhere where the weather is nice and nice cool air is coming off the water, and I would just talk shit all day. That would be my freedom. You know, that would be my freedom. Traveling the world in very nice warm climates and eating all day and loafing.
Yeah.
That would be my freedom. I don't care to I used to care. I wanted lots of money, but it's not really about that. It's if I could be in a place where I could just be comfortable enough to just sit at a beach at least 3-4 times a week, not doing anything, that would be freedom to me. That would be freedom.
What would you say freedom looks like to our people, black people?
Just being treated like white people.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if we weren't always under the lens of having to present ourselves at our best, that would be freedom to us.
Yes.
Like I shouldn't have to dress up and run down my credentials for you to respect me. Like, I shouldn't have to. I mean, if we ever could get there, which I doubt, that's freedom. If I didn't have to present myself a certain way for you to accept me, that would be freedom. You know, is the system that, you know, prejudice conducts under, like for black people and brown people, but you know, I'm black, so I'm talking about black people.
Yeah. What's a normal day in the life for you?
Well, now it's different because I'm just now, because I just came off the road, I'm getting adjusted to not having a schedule where I get up to go into an office, and I'm learning to properly use that time.
Yes.
So I get up at about 7. I used to get up at 6:30. I get up at 7. I'll go to the gym, make some breakfast, and then I'll run down my Moleskine, try to write out stuff that I have to do for the day, and then try to stick to that. So I'm learning to put myself in that exercise.
Okay.
So right now I'm learning my schedule. My schedule is not properly set yet.
So how does tour life affect that in terms of?
Well, that's not the real world. It's just you're in a different city every day, and you leave one city at probably 3 a.m. to go to the next, so you don't have a proper sleep schedule, and you don't really eat that well. It was more fun when I didn't live in it 24/7. When I would like use it as a vacation. So like I take vacation time at work, and I'll go plop in for 10 days and ride around with my boy and enjoy his tour life. Now it's a job, so it's a different kind of schedule, but it's cool. I can see myself touring like that, but you know, it's cool. Check out all things at Dreamville.com.
Oh yes, okay. No, I wanted to ask you, what's next for you?
We're working on some stuff that I can't talk about yet, but we're going back on tour, going to Europe in 2 weeks, which will be the 27th, and then we're gone, and then we're gonna do Australia in December and hopefully Africa in January. So it's pretty busy.
And if you could, I guess, feel any kind of reaction to J. Cole's outfit.
Oh well, so Cole's been very like, if you saw his documentary, he's been, I can't really speak for him exactly, but I can speak for where his perspective is at. Where he's doing a lot. You know, he does a lot of reading on his own and researching. He's not a big social media guy, but he reads a lot, and he's very aware of what's going on. So the last album was very in touch with, you know, things that affect, you know, black people under the system, and one of the things he touched on was incarceration, and he had a vision for the tour where he wanted to, you know, develop this set that looked like a prison, and he connected with you know, giving that feel, but he also wanted to have an outfit that looked like a prison outfit but kind of reflected his style. So you know, I connected with one of my friends, and I reached out to her, and I kind of gave her the spiel with like no timeline, like this is what he might be looking for, this is how he dresses, and within 24 hours she came up with a whole vision for it, and within like a week I think she was on a plane to go you know, talk to him and build out the concept, and you know, it's been like his campaign throughout the tour, and right now it's been very like powerful because people are like, you know, seeing it, and if you go to the show and hear the message in the show, it's really drilling down what's wrong with our system, and it's great for artists to use this platform to do that because that's what artists should do. I mean, you know, we are out here to make money, but art is also to convey thought and move you, and I'd selfishly and biasedly say it that he's probably one of the few people that's doing it in the space.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I
That's-
can totally say the same.
Shout out to my homie Rihanna. She's doing
Yes, Rihanna, Young
And-
Label.
it. You know,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
How did you get your first opportunity to work in art direction and graphic design?
I've done graphic design independently since the early 2000s, and I did a lot of web design initially as a freelancer with a few friends of mine. And going through that world for a long time, I ended up finding an opportunity to transition into advertising because I had a friend who went to art school, he went to portfolio school, and he followed that path.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked in advertising. He's like, hey, why you never thought about working in the ad world? I'm like, I don't know anything about the ad world. He's like, yeah, you do. You're a graphic designer. You could do it. So he showed me how to make a book. Everyone has to make a book, a portfolio site with my own like mock ads of what I think ads will look like and this, that, the third. And shop, wow, this dude is crazy. Reached out to him. Was like, look, so-and-so, I have this blog. I'd love to interview you, but I can't really find too much about you. So he hit me right back, and then we became like cool. I did the interview and post on the blog, and then we just became friends. And over that time, I just always worked with him on anything he ever needed, from when he was like coming up, if he needed stuff, and even to him getting signed and doing mixtape artwork for him, different things like that. So all those years, I've always been like, always a member of the Dreamville brand, but just not in the more official status what I am today. Now I'm solely signed to work for Dreamville. Before it was, one foot in, one foot out kind of.
Okay. So I saw that you did ads for Chase Bank. How was that transition from doing the ads for them and then transitioning to doing art direction for J. Cole?
Well, now I'm working for a friend as opposed to working for people who are clients. So working with a friend, it also has a learning curve where you have to learn the discipline of treating your friend also like a client. You should never just take advantage of working for someone that gives you more. They give you more trust, and they give you more freedom. So you should actually treat them better than, I'd even say, a client that's not your friend. You should actually give them more of the respect because they're giving you that space to actually have a little more freedom in that creative space. So that's the difference, I'd say. It's someone closer to you. It's more like a family thing. So that would be the biggest difference.
Did your duties and responsibilities kind of shift?
Well, yeah, now I have more actions that I've made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your official job title?
So I'm a senior creative at Dreamvilles. I do more than just art direction there, so senior creative was what we landed on, but I'm an art director by trade. So I pretty much handle conceptual to physically doing the work.
So how did you get that opportunity?
Well, I've known J. Cole and his team since the initial inception of the brand Dreamvilles. So I used to have a hip-hop blog that I did in my spare time, and when I had my own web design shop. And through that, I would review albums that I thought were cool, new upcoming artists I would connect with. And a friend of mine sent me this mixtape from this guy that was going to St. John's University that was about to drop his first mixtape. And I listened to it, and I was like, putting it around in different places. I ended up getting a freelance gig here and there, and then I landed at a shop that I freelanced at for about a year, and then I got hired full time. That's how I got into advertising. I didn't take the normal path that everybody does where they go to like a portfolio school or advertising school. I ended up sneaking in the back door.
Okay, so you didn't go to school at all before?
No, I went to school. I went to school for graphic design and web design. So that's what I went to school for. But I didn't go to advertising school, which is normally the route most people in the ad world take.
Okay. So you just kind of felt around and got in?
Yeah, I mean, I connected with people. Like that's one of my main things, is always trying to connect with people just to connect with them. But then somehow or another, I end up finding ways that I'm in sync with things or doors opening through the connection.